Welcome to Sound Stewardship's webinar on Kansas Community Tax Credits. I'm Derek Hensley, one of the wealth advisors at Sound Stewardship. Sound Stewardship is a fee-only financial planning and wealth management firm in Overland Park, Kansas. I have the pleasure of introducing Sarah Bloom as our speaker today. Sarah is a community development specialist for the Kansas State Department of Commerce. In her role, she coordinates the Community Service Tax Credit Program, Individual Development Account Tax Credit Program, and takes the lead on Commerce's efforts in childcare across the state. She proactively engages with communities to address opportunities for childcare, youth development, and downtown development. At home, Bloom enjoys spending time with her husband of 16 years, Cale, a pastor at Celebration Community Church in Hayes, and 3 children. Her hobbies include reading, motorcycles, Cardinals baseball, and playing the cello. Sarah, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Derek. That was a very long introduction. I am excited to be here. As he said, I'm with the Department of Commerce. Very excited to be talking to you about one of the tax credit programs that I get to coordinate today. But before we get started, I want to let everyone know, please feel free to ask questions as we go. Derek is going to interrupt me as they come into the chat because I want to make sure that we're talking about things that are of interest to you. I want to make sure that we're not going too fast today because tax credits can be complicated. And I also want to give a shout out. We have Brenda Sidebottom with the Kansas Department of Revenue on the call with us too. I am the program manager of this program at Commerce, but that doesn't mean I always have all of the answers when it comes to taxes and how it affects your taxes. Brenda typically has all of those answers. So if you have some more complicated tax questions that you'd like to ask, please do that. We have Brenda for about 30 minutes, so make sure you ask him before 12:30. Otherwise, I will send her an email following this webinar and I will get those answered for you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if you're good, Derek.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Sarah.
All right. Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Perfect. All right. We're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. If it didn't advance, let me know. Okay, today's agenda, we're going to do an introduction to CSP. Again, it's Community Service Program Tax Credits. That's when we say CSP, that's what we're referring to. We're going to let you know what tax credits are, how they work, the process of getting these tax credits, what's required to get these tax credits, as well as show you some resources on the Kansas Department of Commerce website today. So first of all, what is CSP? This is a program ran by the Department of Commerce, and its sole purpose is to help nonprofit organizations across the state improve their ability to take on major capital campaigns and fundraising drives. So we are giving these nonprofits across the state these tax credits to help them raise donations for their projects. Any nonprofit in the state of Kansas that has a project or program that benefits the state qualifies for these tax credits as long as they're in community service, which is a very broad category that does include childcare, non-government crime prevention, youth apprenticeship and youth job training, healthcare services. All of those types of projects or programs qualify for these tax credits as long as it's a nonprofit applying for it. One of the most common questions I get asked is if a city, county, or school can apply for these. The answer is no. Those are government entities in the statutes of CSP. But I always like to point out too, there are a lot of nonprofits that are usually very willing to partner with a city, county, or school to create programs and projects that are going to benefit your community. A great example, if there is a school that wants to purchase equipment for youth job training, maybe they want to teach their kids hand-on skills of how to laser engrave things, and they need a laser engraving machine. A nonprofit entity like a foundation can apply for these tax credits on behalf of the school to raise funds for that equipment. That is absolutely acceptable. So if you know of any nonprofits that you think can take advantage of these, please send them my way. Donations have helped fund projects in all 4 of those categories. So I thought I would give you a few examples. Housing projects, housing for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, at-risk girls. And you'll notice if you look at the towns, all sizes, all populations all across the state. Community improvement projects like a railroad quiet zone, Institute of Culinary Arts, an anatomy table for the Garden City Community College, a diesel technology facility for the Highland Community College. So university expansions, renovations, equipment. Again, schools can do a workaround. In this case, these community colleges have their own foundations that applied, but high schools can absolutely use this. I've got a couple of them using it right now to purchase equipment for their students. Nonprofit childcare facilities. These examples are in Lindsborg and Leota, so two pretty small communities, but we set aside $1 million of the 4.1 that is allocated in tax credits specifically for childcare facilities. And then we also, I mean, that community category is very broad. So anything from health clinics, nursing homes, wellness and fitness projects, art-focused projects, you name it, any nonprofit with a project can use these tax credits. Again, 4.1 million. We set aside $1 million for childcare facilities. The maximum award for nonprofit organizations is $200,000 in tax credits. So what are tax credits? I'm sure if you're on this call, many of you are already making donations to nonprofits in your communities, and you're getting deductions for those when you're filing your taxes at the end of the year. Tax credits are not a deduction. They are a direct reduction from your final tax obligation at the state level. So it's not dependent on your income. It's not a percentage. It is a direct reduction from your final tax obligation. This is on your income taxes. However, they can be combined with a deduction in some circumstances. So we'll go through some examples in a little bit, but essentially, if you're donating to a qualified nonprofit and you get, say, 50% of your donation back in state tax credits, the other 50% of your donation could still be eligible for the federal deduction. That's something that you would work out with your personal financial advisors. The other really great thing about these tax credits that's pretty unique to CSP is these are refundable and transferable. So even if you owe $0 in tax credit liability at the end of the year, you will receive these tax credits back as a refund. If you don't require these credits, you can also transfer them, say, to your kids or your grandkids. That's pretty amazing. And it's, again, pretty unique to tax credits. How do they work? So through this program, again, the state or the Department of Commerce is going to authorize nonprofits these tax credits. The nonprofit is going to take the tax credits and they are going to essentially sell them to donors. So donors are going to write checks directly to the organization that has been approved to these tax credits. The organization is going to keep 100% of that donation. They're going to submit the required information to the state, and then the state is going to issue a certificate to the donors, letting them know that they have a tax credit. Any business or individual that has a Kansas income tax are eligible to receive these tax credits as long as the donation is larger than $250. Even if that's the minimum, there's no maximum. So if an organization receives, $100,000 in tax credits and they need $200,000 in donations to sell all of those tax credits, one donor can write a check for $200,000, receive 100% of their tax credits, and they can be done. Derek, did you have a question?
Yeah, and so around on the donor side of things, does the donor need to itemize? The question is just confirming you no longer have to itemize your deductions at the federal level in order to use the Kansas community tax credit at the state level.
This is exactly why Brenda's on the call. Can we somehow unmute her?
Yeah, let's see here.
Brenda, yep, it looks like you should be able to unmute now. Again, Brenda Sidebottom with the Kansas Department of Revenue.
Well, I wish I could answer this question, but I am not sure. So I will have to find the answer for you.
Okay.
Whoever's asking the question, could they put their email in the chat and we will make sure we get it to them?
Yeah, yeah, we'll get that.
Or we can send it out as to all of the attendees as well,
Yeah,
but
yeah. And so we'll get that correspondence there set up. So good question.
it is a good question.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep going. All right, so what donations qualify? Cash donations, stocks and bonds, personal property, as that we do require 2 appraisals, real estate, payroll, project materials, or labor. No matter what, if you're donating property or real estate or materials, it has to go to the qualified project of the nonprofit. Someone can't donate, say, a house and then assume that they're going to get tax credits if the house is not being used for the project. So everything donated has to be donated to the project that was qualified for tax credits. Basically, I mean, this is very broad. A lot of donations qualify. The biggest question we get asked that we have to say no is donor advised funds, or DAFs. A donor advised fund does not qualify for tax credits because you are writing a check to a nonprofit and you are essentially losing control of that money. While you can still advise them where you want that money to go, ultimately it's their decision. And you are getting all of your tax benefits when you write that check to the initial nonprofit. So we cannot accept DAF donations for tax credits. You can still donate to the organization through your DAF at a foundation. You just can't receive tax credits for it. Some notes. With S corporations, shareholders of an S corp are eligible to apply credits to their individual tax returns. We do have to have your social security numbers. We have to also know the percentage of the stake in the business that you have. Stocks and bonds, the price is determined on the day of transfer. So if you, as a donor, donate stocks and bonds, you're going to receive tax credits for the amount of the donation on the day of transfer. The organization accepts the risk as soon as they accept those stocks and bonds. And if they go up, great. If they go down, hopefully they sell it fast enough that doesn't happen, but it does not change your donation as a donor. And again, donor advised funds do not qualify for state tax credits. Here's an example of how they work. This is a rural community example. Rural communities for CSP are defined as a 15,000 population or less. If you, a donor, were to give $1,000 donation to an eligible project, you're going to receive 70% or $700 back in tax credits. So if you have a $500 Kansas income tax at the end of the year and a $700 credit, you're going to receive a $200 refund. This is a 50% or urban, and I forgot to change rural to urban. This is an urban community example, and this is anything greater than 15,000 in population. If you make that same $1,000 donation to a community of larger than 15,000, you're going to receive 50% or $500 in tax credits back. So if you have that same $500 Kansas income tax, that credit would wipe it away. There would be no Kansas income tax owed.
That's great. We had another question come in. And so when you say that a donor can enjoy up to 200,000 in tax credits, would that mean that they give up to 400,000 in cash or stock for a 50% urban charity?
Yes. So if I misspoke, I'm sorry. The organization can apply for up to $200,000 in tax credits. So if they get $200,000 in tax credits, the donor would write a $400,000 check in a 50% or urban setting, and they would receive $200,000 in tax credits.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Yep. This is the process, and we've kind of talked about it the whole time, but here it is broken down in 6 steps. The taxpayer is going to donate to an eligible CSP project. When you do that, whatever the donation looks like, you're also going to have to include a complete application form, which we're going to look at in just a second. Step 2 is the project director is going to enter all of the required information, basically everything that's on that application and the documents, into the online Department of Revenue system. So if you are concerned about security with your social security number, just know that that information is getting uploaded directly to the Secure Kansas Department of Revenue website. Step 3, Commerce, myself, is going to look at all that information. I'm going to make sure that what is on the application is what is entered into the secure online system. I will either approve that or request more information if, maybe the addresses don't match, maybe a social security number got superimposed. I make sure everything matches before approving it. Once it's approved, the taxpayer receives a tax credit based on the amount and the community size. The project tax credit balance is reduced by whatever the donation amount was, or the percentage of the donation amount. Step 5, the online revenue system is going to generate a certificate for you, the taxpayer. The taxpayer is going to receive that credit directly from the organization itself, not from Commerce, not from the Kansas Department of Revenue, directly from the organization that you made the donation to. And then you're going to file that certificate with the Kansas Department of Revenue along with a K-60 form, which again, your financial advisor should have. But if not, it's available on our website, which I will show you in just a second. Here's an example of a tax certificate application. So I know it's kind of hard to read, but it does require your name, your social security number. If you are donating as a business, your federal employer identification number. You can leave the social security number off in that case. Your address, your phone number, your email, how you're going to be using the tax credits, whether it's corporate, privilege, individual, how you made the donation, the amount of your donation. All of this information, again, is entered into the online Kansas Department of Revenue website. I look at every single one and make sure the information on this sheet matches what is input. It's vitally important that we have your social security numbers because that is how the Kansas Department of Revenue will issue the tax credits, and that's how you will claim them when you file your taxes. This is an example of the certificate that you'll receive. This is what's generated on that online system. It will give you a certificate identification number. It will let us know, it will have your social security on there. Again, that's how we match it, or the last 4 of your social security, the amount of contribution, the amount of the tax credits. It will remind you to file this with a K-60 when you file your tax return. It's a pretty simple form, but this is how you will claim your tax credits. This is a sample of the K-60 form. Again, this is available on our website, but your financial advisor should have access to it as well. And just briefly, I'm going to click here and see if this works. I'm going to take you to our website here. Okay, can everybody see the website okay?
Yes, it's coming through.
Okay,
great.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it. Okay, so this is kansascommerce.gov/CSP. So this is where we have all of the information regarding this program, whether you are a nonprofit hoping to apply and you want to download our program guidelines, if you want to sign up for more information, if you need to know who's eligible, tips for applying, if you want to know where all of our projects are. But what I really wanted to show you as a donor is if at the end of the year, you are needing to write some checks and you're wanting to know which organizations are at 50% or at 70%, or maybe you want to know what kind of projects they have going on. You can come down here to our awardees and it will tell you exactly what the tax credit percentage is, where they're located, what project they're working on, who to contact, and how many credits they were awarded. So this is super helpful to a lot of our donors who at the end of the year, maybe they want to buy, maybe they have an interest in buying high school students new equipment. We have that. Maybe senior living, maybe Catholic Charities. There is a huge variety of nonprofits that have received tax credits that you can make donations to, depending on maybe you're just interested in financial need, maybe you're interested in the cause that they are raising money for. You can do that there. You can also download a complete PDF. I'll show you what that looks like. It's basically the same information in a very concise 3-page PDF document. So again, you can base it on region, percentage amount, or even the cause that they are working on and know exactly how many tax credits they were awarded and give them a call and make a donation. So we try to make it pretty easy for you to match your interests and your needs with a cause and an organization. Click out of that. Okay. That's it in a nutshell. I would love to take questions. I know we've got Brenda for about 10 more minutes as well, if there's really hard tax questions.
Yeah. Oh yeah, some of those hard tax questions are getting peppered in there during the thing there. So no, we appreciate all the questions that come through. One that came up, is there a way to see online how much of the tax credit is still available to be used? I know it was showing how much is issued, but is there anything to help
There's
out with
not
that?
right now because it changes so quickly. It would be really hard for me, who the only person working on those tax credits, to
Gotcha.
update that. Especially once October 1st hits. We're getting about 20 applications a day, so it gets pretty complicated. You can call me. I'm happy to share that information with you. Or again, if you have a specific cause and you want to call the organization first, they're happy to share that as well. But there's not an easy way to get it updated on the website as of now. But happy to share it if you call me.
Okay. And so how does kind of behind the scenes, how does the charity communicate with you on what's been used or hasn't? Is it just as you're receiving applications, you kind of note it on your end, or?
Yep. So I have a running total. I track it in multiple different ways. So of course, on the Kansas Department of Revenue site, when they are uploading applications and requests for those credits, there's a running total for each organization there on the website. I also track it on a Excel spreadsheet, so it's easy for me to reference and sort as needed. But yeah, I have access to all of the organization's information in multiple places and track it quite often. Organizations are also responsible for submitting quarterly reports to me
Okay.
to let me know again how many they've already used, how many pledges are outstanding, if they're struggling to sell. I know that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. And are there any credits left for the 2022 and 2023 class of awardees?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
I closed my Excel spreadsheet because I wanted to make sure I didn't share any information that I shouldn't, and social security numbers and everything
Yeah.
is shut down on my computer except for the PowerPoint. But yes, there are definitely still tax credits available for those organizations whose tax credits will expire December of this year. I don't think I mentioned this is an 18 months program. So the organizations have July 1st of their issuing year to December of the following year to sell these credits before they expire. I can provide a list of organizations that have outstanding credits. If you were to donate to an organization who just received tax credits in 2023, I do want to make a note though, you can receive tax credits in consecutive years. So if you have an organization that was just issued tax credits this year, you can write $1,000 check on December 31st of 2023 and $1,000 check on January 1st of 2024 and get tax credits in both of those years. So again, consecutive years, find a cause, find a financial need. You can get tax credits for organizations that are expiring this year, as well as those that are expiring next year.
Yeah. And so, what happens with the credit that, if it's an organization that doesn't fully use their tax credit, it's expired, what happens there? It just kind of poof and it's gone, or?
Not necessarily. So we monitor this very, very closely, and it's basically my job to make sure that 100% of the tax credits get used every year.
Gotcha.
So we actually start a reallocation process in September, and if we do have organizations that are struggling, we reach out to them. We ask what's going on. We ask if they have outstanding pledges. We ask what their financial plan is, or their fundraising plan is for the rest of the year. And if they can't provide us a fundraising plan, if they can't provide us with pledges, or maybe they come back and said, hey, we found something better. We can get 60% credits from this program, so we don't need your 50% credits. Go ahead and take them all. That's okay. There's not really, there's not a slap on the hand. You can apply again without any penalty. It's fine. But we start that reallocation process. We'll take credits from organizations that don't need them or are struggling, and we will give them to organizations that have already sold 100% of their credits. They have outstanding pledges. They can get rid of them quickly. But there's not really a penalty. And if at the end of the year 100% aren't sold, they just don't get used.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
that's just it. They poof, they disappear. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Another question came in. So when the applications go live, how popular is the program with nonprofits? Do they all know about it and send in a ton of projects, or is the program looking for more nonprofit projects when the application is open?
Yeah, a little of both. So I started at Commerce about 1.5 years ago, and I have tried really, really hard to get the word out. And so hopefully there's more nonprofits now that know about it than there were when I started 1.5 years ago. It is a competitive application process. We're getting about 60 applications every year. We're only able to award about half of those. So,
Okay.
for example, this year we awarded 38, but because we awarded so many, not everybody got their full allocation request either. But that gives us some leeway. If some organizations struggle, then we can always give additional credits, starting in September of next year. So there's pluses and minuses, but 60 applications doesn't sound like a lot, but when you can only award half, it's tough. I want to
Yeah.
award all of them because they're
Right.
fantastic projects.
Yeah, right. And when is the application window on the nonprofit side?
Yeah, they open March 1st and they will
March
close
1st.
at the end of April. So you've got about an 8-week window.
Okay.
If I do have some nonprofits on here that are interested, it's a pretty easy application. The hardest part is we require 2 different types of letters. The first letter is pledge letters, and those can be a form type letter where, so-and-so organization is going to receive X amount of dollars from me if they get tax credits. And I just need an amount on it. And it can be a very simple form letter. The second type of letter we require is support letters. Tell me about your project, pull at my heartstrings, make them unique, make them heartfelt. Tell me why the program or project that you're applying for will make a difference in your community. And those cannot be form letters. We want each and every one of them to be as unique as possible and tell the story behind the need for these tax credits. That's really the hardest part of the application, is to get all those in. The more pledged letters you have for your application, the higher your application will score. Because again, we're trying to make sure that 100% of the $4.1 million in tax credits get sold. So if we already know on your application that you have 90% of your tax credits spoken for, you're going to score very high.
Gotcha. Yeah.
In that section.
Yeah, that's helpful. And so say there's a nonprofit on here, they've already gone through the program with one project and they have another project on the radar. Are they allowed to participate in, future years? Or was it a kind of, hey, you had this one shot, you did it, great, but you graduated, you're out of the program now?
Yeah. Nonprofits cannot apply for 2 consecutive years. And
Okay.
they cannot apply for the same project. Those are our only requirements. So if I've got a nonprofit on here that was awarded in July of 2023, they will not be eligible to apply again until the 2025 round. And they need to make sure that the project that they are applying for is different from the first one they received tax credits for.
That's helpful. And now kind of on the donor side of things, we talked about the different assets to give. I'm assuming cash is probably the most popular, followed by stocks and some of those other things. But how?
Grain, we get a lot of grain donations.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah.
Rural Kansas.
Yeah. So how on the donor side, say they have appreciated stock and hopefully they're working with an advisor, but if they're not, how would they go about navigating the list, figuring out what they can do with that appreciated stock?
They can give me a call. They can give the organization a call. We should be able to walk them through it. But yeah, hopefully they've got a financial advisor.
Yeah. I know for our firm, typically we're kind of leading that of reaching out to the organization. Hey, can you guys receive stock? And some are like, I don't know what you're talking about. And others like, yes, we can do it. And others we've kind of helped come alongside or kind of coach the process of getting this account set up, and then kind of just walk them through that initial stock donation there. So I know that's a big benefit to have that flexibility to receive other types of assets. I know it's not always easy on the nonprofit side of things. They're focused on different things to work on besides opening new accounts and this and the other. But it's helpful to know there. And so so that's really, anybody on the call, it's really, if you have appreciated stock that you're willing to donate, it's picking the cause you're fired up for, and then reaching out to that charity or Sarah to say, hey, can they help with this? And then if it's not, and there's, you have 1A or 1B projects on the list, and you might check throughout there. But yeah, that's helpful.
We lost Brenda, so no hard tax questions.
Okay, no hard tax questions. Okay.
If we'll get back to you if we can't answer them.
Yeah. And so just a quick summary, as we're rounding out the year, I know there's charitable giving kind of ramps up in the fourth quarter, but as we keep in mind these tax credits, say you do $1,000 gift donation to one of these charities for a 70% tax credit, like Sarah was saying, you get the 70% dollar for dollar write-off, and it's refundable at Kansas and transferable, right? That's nice too. On the Kansas side of things. And then on the federal side of things, okay, that $300 that can apply towards your federal charitable deductions. And what's also nice, if you're a Kansas resident, even if you don't itemize federally, but you still have federal charitable deductions, you just didn't clear the standard deduction amount, you can still have a state tax benefit even on from the federal charitable deductions there. So we are all for these Kansas community tax credits. It's a great program. And so tell me a little bit the history. How long have these been around, and do you foresee these being around for forever, or is it kind of how often is this program reviewed to keep it in place or not?
Yeah, it's been in place since 1994.
Wow.
The amount of tax credits has fluctuated throughout the years, but I don't anticipate it going away very quickly. We're very good at making sure 100% of the tax credits get sold. Now that the word is out about these and we are getting 60+ applications, we see the need for nonprofits. It's one of the few state programs, specifically for nonprofits that is so broad. I mean, you can really apply for any project under that community service category. So I don't see it going away very quickly. It does get, reviewed annually. We send a report to legislation every year, letting them know how many applications we received, what that total amount of requests was, how many we approved. Of course, that'll be around the 4.13 amount that's awarded. But it is a very popular program, and it is a huge asset and a wonderful tool for the nonprofits that are awarded. So I can't say it'll never go away. Of course, I'm not a legislator. I don't see it going away though, and it has been around since 1994.
Yeah, oh, that's great. I didn't realize it'd been around that long there. So I know I got familiar with the Kansas Community Tax Credits through Sound Stewardship. They were working closely with the charity that was part of the program a couple of years back, and so I was like, well, this is really cool. Now I'm a Missouri resident, and so I was like, oh man, I wish Missouri did something similar to this, but
I'm sure there's no one on here that's not from the state of Kansas, but just so everyone is aware too, if you live outside of Kansas, but you still have a Kansas income, you can still qualify for these credits. I just approved two donations from Florida. They have income in Kansas, so they're able to take advantage of these.
Oh, that's great.
So if you have family that's moved out of the state, but maybe they have a share in your business or your farm, if they show any type of state income here in Kansas, they can qualify for these credits.
Awesome. Great. Let me see if we have any more questions come through here. Does not look like it. So Sarah, thank you, and Brenda for taking time out of your day there to help us with this. A lot of helpful information. Yeah, we appreciate your work and expertise in this area. And so, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's my contact information. I am pretty good at responding. I take great pride in responding to emails and being available as much as possible. So please feel free to reach out with any questions.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, we'll include that on our follow-up email there. So we'll have some resources, the links for the recording of this webinar, and then also the webpage that you had shared there during the presentation. So we'll have all that kind of packaged up for everybody on follow-up email here. And so, yeah, so thank you guys for attending. Thank you again, Sarah, for presenting there. We appreciate it. And hope all the tax credits get used up this year. And yeah, have a great
Got about
rest.
15% left to sell. So again,
There we
if you're
go.
interested for the ones that expire this year, just give me a call. I can let you know who's still got some.
Great, fantastic. I'm sure we'll be reaching out here.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, guys.